So that's why with Elden Ring, like, and my spicy take for 2022, and David agrees with me, Sonic Frontiers is better than Elden Ring.
Don't bring me into this.
Whoa! That is a hot take.
He put it higher on his game of the year list than Elden Ring in 2022. So that's why I know he agrees with me.
Oh, well.
I also want to talk about that because I traditionally hate Dark Souls games, but I have had an experience this year. It might be an aging thing. I went back to Jedi Fallen Order, which I hated the gameplay of. I did the whole game. I only died 3 times on hard on the last boss, and I was like, maybe I'm pretty good at this. And I went back to Jedi Survivor, and I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty, and I'm finding it really easy. And then I started Rise of the Ronin, which is made by the people who made Neo and Neo 2. And that has an easy mode I started on, but I bumped it up. So I'm thinking, am I getting good at like Dark Souls type games? As I don't know if it's a patience thing when you get older, like sort of like a Samurai Master or something. But I'm feeling like I'm going that way. But as we'll talk about, me and David have a very spicy take about Elden Ring. Which actually,
those Jedi games, though. Well, I will say, I think you have the spicy take. My take is, I wish I was better at those games. But
I'm replaying it right now, so I could get offended. This could devolve into a debate. I'm nervous.
I really wanted us to, the DLC looks really cool, and I wanted to get back into it, but I just I got stuck on an Elden Ring on so I got about 20 hours in. Really enjoyed my time. Like, I think it's the best Souls game I played for sure, easily. I love the way they make they do the open world. There's so much to discover. Like, it's really like that part of it for me. That's a big piece of like a lot of the games I'm into. I love exploration and discovery and just having the freedoms kind of to explore. But the issue I run into in that game is just like, I want to explore and then I get murdered. Like, I don't want these annoying, hard enemies in the way. I just want to discover new things. But I got about 20 hours in, and I hit like the so I was playing as, I guess, a mage. I forget what the classes are now, but the one that like shoots magic, because I know I don't have the time to do like a sword. So, but then I get to the boss where it's like this werewolf, like in a castle, and there's like nowhere to move. So I start that fight, I just die immediately. And to get to that boss, it's like it takes like 20 minutes just to get to that point. I can't just save right beforehand. There's like so it's like, fuck this.
It's in like the Hogwarts magic school. Is that the one you're talking about? It has that wolf thing.
It looks like that. Yeah.
Oh my god. I hard quit in 20 hours as well, but I got there and I'm like, how the fuck am I going to do this? I was playing a samurai, and I just what the one redeeming thing about Elden Ring is you can just be like, oh, I'm not doing this, and I'll go that way. And like you were saying, the exploration is good, and I enjoyed that about it. But they got to a point where I think I was in like the swamp, and then I got beaten so bad by a boss. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like 20 hours, I'm good. Like, I've explored a lot of the map. I can't do this. And like with Elden Ring specifically, Mike, you can tell us how good it is in a sec. But in Elden Ring specifically, my main criticism is, out of all the games inspired by Breath of the Wild, I hate only being able to interact with the world in terms of combat. Like, I replayed Breath of the Wild after Elden Ring, just before Tears of the Kingdom. I was thinking, it's fun to just kind of chill in this world, or like climb trees and like get
I like climbing,
explore. That's why I like Dragon's Dogma as well, because you have that downtime, and you're like, what will I find that maybe isn't combat? With Elden Ring, it's like, what will I find that will kill me in more annoying ways? So I just want, before I give my really spicy take, like, Mike, I was wondering, like, what in terms of just like how brutal those games are, like even the exploration, why do you enjoy it more? Because it's all combat. Like, would you not prefer Elden Ring if it had some downtime and like maybe a village of NPCs all walking around doing stuff? Or like, do you just want that straight up like combat basically the whole time you're playing it?
I think that part of why I enjoy it so much is, I don't know, maybe masochism, maybe trying to prove to myself that I can do it. But I think that what you're explaining is a typical experience in every single Souls-like game, where you start playing and you're like, wow, this is fun. I get why people like it. But then you hit a wall. You run into a boss, and then you get your cheeks clapped, and then you're like, okay, fuck this. So at that point, which you're always going to run into in these games, that's when you have to readapt. That's when you really have to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a magic build? Do I want to do strength? And you have to start seeking help, figuring out what other players have found, what's the best weapons, how to upgrade. Because it's like a new experience every time. So my first run through of Elden Ring, I played as a magic build. This time I'm doing a quality build, which is a combination of strength and dexterity. And so it's a completely new play style. And so I'm having to relearn everything to fight in melee. And now I'm in that stage where it's like, okay, I can't do shit now because I cleared out all the beginning areas and now I'm getting my ass beat everywhere I go. So I had to find a good spot to farm and grind. And now I'm in the process of upgrading my weapons. So you're always kind of forced to like stop and reevaluate what you're doing wrong. And that right there is where a lot of people get lost. And it almost lost me. So my first Souls game was actually Demon Souls on PS5. And I think it's
Oh,
the
really?
second.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm
That's
I'm
really
a
late,
newbie.
really late to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a newbie. I played them all, but I'm a newbie. And so there's the Tower Knight boss, and I was so pissed because if you die in that boss, you have to go all the way back, make this trek through this huge area. There's a dragon that, burns you. It was so infuriating. But I forced myself to keep playing. And then after that, I got better armor and better weapons. So it's just one of those things where it's like, even though at the start of this game, it's just brutal and ruthless, you know that you're gonna come back to that boss and you're gonna destroy him at some point. You're gonna get so tough. And so like at the end of Elden Ring in my last playthrough, I think I was like level 170 or something. Like I had this magic power that I would just like, it was kind of like a Kamehameha wave, just blast the bosses, one hit them every single time.
I've
And so
seen
you
some of
become
that.
a
I've seen some
god.
of that. Yeah, that like
Yeah.
I want that. But
Yeah.
I want that like now. I don't want to have to work for that.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want to get that beam of fire or light and just smash these bosses.
Yeah, that's what's exciting for me is getting to that point where it's like you walk through like a god. But then again, you'll find a new area once you get to the areas you couldn't, and then you kind of get, a wake-up call where it's like, no, you get smacked down. You're still the bitch.
It
Yeah.
sounds very much like a JRPG in that sense, where like you hit
Yeah.
like a place where you can't do anymore, and you have to kind of like grind to level up, and then you can beat those. Like, but for
Yep.
me in a JRPG, it's less frustrating because it's very clear what I have to do. Whereas there's still the element of, well, I mean, unless you're powered up, like like you said, but there's still the element of having to know how to defeat this really tough boss and have to like you could spend like it's for me it's about wasted time. It's like it's the time to get up to that. If I could save right before and I could like jump around areas and get right back to where that boss is instead of having to fight through to get to the boss and then die. Like it's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's so much it just feels like I wasted so much time like getting to that point that's what really frustrates me. It's just the time lost as opposed to just being able to get there and do that fight.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, I agree with you, Mike, in terms of it also does feel good to get better at these games.
Mhm.
But I think for me, I just get confused at like the overwhelming praise, like the 10s out of 10s, like universal 10 out of 10. And I'm playing it and I'm like, I get why this is good. I feel like gaming communities, like because people love these games so much, it's really skewed to where I'm told these are like the best games ever made. And when I play them, I'm like, I really appreciate the good stuff it does well. But in terms of an open world game, I find it so hard to get invested, even more than like Dark Souls 2, which I quite enjoyed. Elden Ring, I have no connection to that world at all. It looks cool, like someone's fucking like nightmare or something. But even like David, you're playing Dragon's Dogma. That does a similar thing where it's very vague in terms of I don't really know what like where did the elves come from? Where did these like animal things come from? What is the history of this world? But like it gives me enough where I'm invested. With Elden Ring, talking to someone who's got a Welsh accent, so it sounds kind of cool, but they're speaking gibberish all the time. It's like, to me, I'm like, I have no affinity for this world at all. And I find it so hard to get invested. So, like with David, we did the same thing. When you hit that 20-hour mark and you're getting your ass beat, it's not like I want to understand the lore better, so I'll keep playing. It's like, well, I'm just done. And that's the thing with Jedi, which I appreciate as like a kind of Dark Souls clone, is I love the world so much. The story's good. There's loads of other stuff to do. And yeah, you spawn right before the boss as well. And there's difficulty options. So if I'm really, really stuck, I can just bump that down. So that's why with Elden Ring, like and my spicy take for 2022, and David agrees with me, Sonic Frontiers is
Don't
better
throw
than
me.
Elden
Don't
Ring.
bring me into this.
Whoa, that is a hot take.
I want to be clear about my position here. I platinumed Sonic Frontiers because I really enjoyed that open world. For me, it was like the perfect podcast game. I put like a podcast on, and I could explore the open world, and it was really fun. Just like do the collectibles, and like it was the only 3D Sonic game that I've actually enjoyed. The other ones, I think they're all, for me, they're overrated. I've
Not
never
even Sonic
enjoyed.
Adventure.
No, they've never done anything for
God.
me. And to be fair, even the 2D Sonic games, I think Sonic generally is a very overrated franchise. But that's my don't hate me. That's just my opinion. It's overrated for me. I've never enjoyed them. But Sonic Frontiers was really just it also helped that I went into it expecting like a really shitty game because everything I read about it was like, oh, this game is terrible. I think one outlet gave it like a 1 out of 10 or something. I'm like, I want to see what this is. It went on sale, so I'm like, I'm just gonna grab this, see what it's about. And I was just surprised that I'm actually having fun. This is fun. This is a good time. But
he put it higher on his game of the year list than Elden Ring in 2022. So that's why I know he agrees with me.
Oh well, again, but when you judge a game, though, I think you have to be able to separate the quality of the game versus your enjoyment of it. Like there are many games that I respect that maybe aren't for me, but I can respect that they're quality pieces that a lot of work went into them, and they're just not for me, and that's fine. I think it's important to be able to separate like what I'm enjoying. Which Sonic Frontiers, let's be clear, it's a 7 out of 10 game. But I platinumed that game and I really enjoyed it. But it's a 7 out of 10. It's not like that isn't a 10 out of 10 game. there's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of issues with camera in places, and some of the controls are weird at times. But it's still, I had a good time. But it's still not a great game. It's just a good game.
Before I just give my little take on it, the most important question: what was your reaction to the first boss battle? The tonal shift in that game for the first boss. Do you remember it? So you're running around this like very nice, kind of looks like the Scottish Highlands. It's all raining. You come across this big robot. It looks very menacing. And then out of nowhere, the craziest fucking rock music. Do you remember it plays? And like Sonic turns yellow, like golden. And the tone of the game, that's why I love it so much. When I played that, I was laughing because I was like, holy shit.
Oh,
like,
I was definitely, I think I was laughing too.
Yeah, but it went from, like, Mike, if I can describe it, it went from like peaceful, rainy, think of like maybe like kind of Skyrim influence music, and it feels like very chill and like this world. Then suddenly Sonic turns into like Super Saiyan, and you're fighting some giant mech, and the music, like you could probably even play it now, but it's just so fucking insane. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? And then that extends to like the levels where it's like dubstep, and then it's like there's like lo-fi music playing with the fishing mini game. It's like it's all over the place, but I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. Like I'm getting surprised every time, and I'm like, is this a joke I'm not in on? Because Sonic just takes itself so seriously as well. So I was like, holy shit! I like with David, I hadn't played Sonic in a while or think it's anything good, but this game just like surprised me so hard.
That was something that a lot of reviewers actually criticized the game for, was that the world felt disconnected from the actual game itself. Like as you describe, at times it's just like this like lo-fi, like quiet, rainy, like experience, and just these beautiful rolling hills, and then it's like, like what's going on? Like it's bizarre. Like that, I've seen people say that they would have liked Frontiers better if it took more inspiration from the visual design of the levels in 2D Sonic games or previous 3D Sonic games, where there was just there was more cohesion there. But I do kind of agree with you where it adds to the charm almost, where it's just so weird that's part of why I enjoyed it. Is that it's not that, it's that it really is this like very two different things combining into one.
It's like many different things. Even like the little mini games you keep getting added. Like I'm like, what the fuck am I doing now? But that's why I enjoyed it so much, and that's why I preferred it to Elden Ring, because it surprised me so much. Where with Elden Ring, I will admit, like you're saying, I appreciate Elden Ring for being a good game, like for sure. I'm not saying it's a bad game at all, but I just don't get the level of hype for these games. And I think it reminds me of Taylor Swift, and I think there's a hysterical praise for it. Which
I hear a Kavernacle video. You got this idea brewing your head.
I've actually said this to Baldur's Gate 3 as well before. I think that this gets a hysterical level of hype that people feel like I've had so many arguments with people, like they get very heated that I say, oh, for me, Elden Ring's like a 7 out of 10. and they're just like they can't believe it because the combat is good and that's the freedom is good. But Mike, as someone who loves Elden Ring, you can have the definitive answer. Is Elden Ring? I'm not saying overrated in terms of do people say it's good when it's bad. Do you think people praise it way too much compared to like what it is my main question, especially when it's decided to go for an open world, and I just don't think the game warrants an open world more than just it's fun to go places. But I think it doesn't actually use the open world in actually a good way. I just think it's just a massive like Dark Souls level. So yeah, you give the take. Is Elden Ring actually overrated? Is it like the best game ever made, like everyone's telling me?
So I'm the worst person to ask because I'm so biased. I would say this is my argument. I would argue that it's properly hyped. I think it's sufficiently hyped because to me, after playing all the other ones, this is like peak Dark Souls. Like it's everything that you want, where there's so much variety, there's so many different weapons, so many builds that you can do. And I think the open world is kind of what makes it good in the sense that for the first time it's more accessible to other people, even though sure you'll run off and you'll get clapped by something, you can come back later on. Whereas with Dark Souls 1 through 3, you kind of are going on this linear path. I mean, the world in Dark Souls 1 is all interconnected, but like still you're kind of going on this one path and there's one place to go, and if you can't beat the boss, you can't beat the boss. You've got to keep trying. And the same is true for like Sekiro and whatnot. So in my opinion, it's properly hyped. Having said that though, I understand why people who think it's overhyped say that. Because if you're not like you either get it or you don't, right? Yeah. It's like certain type of genres. Like I don't get RTSs, I don't get strategy games. So to me it doesn't make sense. But like if they made like the best RTS and all the RTS fans were like, oh, this is the best. That's kind of like the Elden Ring. That's a very terrible comparison, but like that's my opinion where it's like,
yeah, I get it.
It's quintessential Dark Souls. Like it's everything that I wanted. Yeah. And it's hard to know like how they can go up from this just because I really enjoy the open world aspect. And you're right, story, like it's all gibberish. Like people pretend like they know what the fuck is going on. Nobody knows what's going on. The side quests are so obscure. Nobody's solving that unless they're looking it up on YouTube. Let's be real. At least that's the case. Yeah. That's the case for me, right? Like I was doing this mission so I could reach a certain area so I could farm. And it's like, okay, I had to go and talk to this guy. His name is Var. And then I have to invade the world of another player 3 times. Then he gives me a cloth. Then I have to soak that cloth in blood. Doesn't tell you shit about any of this. It's like, well, what the fuck where am I supposed to go, right? So it is completely gibberish. But it's fun in the sense that like you just kind of explore and turn off your brain and see where that takes you. Sometimes, you find something really cool, like a new weapon in a cave. Other times, you're going to get completely shut down by some big beast where you're like, oh, let me try to fight him. And then you just get slammed down. I will say, when it comes to Sonic Frontiers, that was my like Dark Souls experience in the sense that I stopped after a while when I hit a wall. And I'm actually, my response to, Sonic games is I feel like a scorned lover. I used to be the biggest Sonic fan ever. Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2, like those are my childhood. But
and then came Shadow the Hedgehog with swearing and guns. And...
Yeah. I remember. I actually have that on GameCube still to this day. I don't know if I ever played it though, to be honest.
I rented it from Blockbuster and then just 1 week.
I bought it from Blockbuster. I think I got my employee discount and that's why I bought it, but I never picked it up. Right. But like in Sonic Frontiers, I don't know if I got like the first official boss, but I reached this dude that's like super tall. And when you're running up its leg, like the camera switches when you have to attack.
You never did that.
Every time it fucks me up. I'm like, what is this game? Why is the camera not locking up?
I totally get people not playing past that point because that's one of the issues with the game. Like, there's just some weird like camera flips, and you're like, I remember there was a second or third or one of the bosses. I kept dying on this part where the camera would just get into a weird place where I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I was getting verbally angry, like I was like yelling at the TV, like what is even happening right now? Like I was saying that out loud because I could not believe how effed up this whole stage was.
Thank you.
But I eventually got like I got through it. Like I got to a point in that game where I'm like, I'm so close to this platinum. I'm gonna get it because it's so close. I just want to get this. Platinum.
Yeah.
I don't normally have that with a lot of games, but like that game, Ghost of Tsushima, which is like one of my favorite games I think of all time. Like I fucking love that game, and I got the platinum in that. I could not, even after I got the platinum, this is like the only game where I get a platinum and I wanted to keep playing it. Like that game is like the perfect Assassin's Creed that is better than anything Ubisoft has ever put out.